Hey, hey.
Work smarter where you want.
This is learning at its most fun.
Welcome, everybody. My name is Jonathan Maddock. Welcome to another Partner Spotlight. This week we have AdvisoryWorld. And today with me I have Ed Falstrom. He's the VP of Sales. For any of you who aren't familiar with AdvisoryWorld, AdvisoryWorld is a tool that helps with portfolio analytics and risk analysis. They can do proposal generations and just workflow and document management. So they're really kind of a one-stop shop. Really appreciate you joining me today, Ed.
Yeah, no problem at all. Thank you, Jonathan, for having me.
Absolutely. Yeah. So to go ahead and get started, we're just going to go ahead and take a look on how we turn on the integration just real quick. And then Ed's got a ton of awesome content for us to hear today. So there's a couple new lead gen things that we want to discuss. So let me go ahead and just jump into the CRM. We'll just talk about how we can turn on the integration. So any of you who aren't familiar with the turning on those pesky integrations, we're going to go ahead and walk you through that. So to go ahead and get started, all you need to do is click your name in the top right-hand corner, go down to Manage Your Integrations, and AdvisoryWorld is actually one of the best ones up there because it's the first one. So you'll see that you have AdvisoryWorld as an option here. You're going to see that we currently have it turned on. So it's going to be under the enabled list. If for any reason it is not there, that means it's on the disabled list. So all you would have to do is just click the on button, and then it's going to move it over to the enabled side. You're going to have this cog right here, this drop down. There's going to be two options. You're going to see settings and support. And the settings is going to allow you to sign in and create that single sign-on. And then the support option is actually going to bring you right to the help desk article. So this is going to have instructions on kind of what the feature can do or what the integration can do, as well as how to set it up. So you'll just see here that if you have any additional questions, just know that you can go right to the integration and you can click into the support and it's going to bring you to that help article. Now, the last piece that I want to touch on before I hand it off to Ed is that I want to show you where you can access the integration. So it seems to be there's a couple locations, but mainly what I want to show you is under the accounts. Once you are in a contact that has some account data coming over, you have this option of clicking onto the action icon of the account that you're selecting, and you're going to see that these options are here. So you generate fact sheet, and you can launch essentially the single sign-on that'll push you right into that portion of the AdvisoryWorld. Now, Ed is going to talk about some other features today, but one thing I do want to know, and I don't think this has changed, is that even if you're not a paying customer of AdvisoryWorld, this option is still available to you. Once you turn it on, you can still generate the fact sheets, which is great. So take a look at those, use them. And there's a lot more power to the AdvisoryWorld software. So if you like what you see here, definitely listen to what Ed's got to do. And from that, I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to you there, bud, and you can go ahead and we can get started.
All right, great. Thank you very much, Jonathan. And just let me know when you have the ability to see my screen. So thank you, everyone, for taking time out of your busy day to join us for this introduction to AdvisoryWorld for, I'm sure, the majority of you. For those of you on the call who have never heard of AdvisoryWorld, we've actually been around since 1987, and we're currently servicing...
Wait, I can't see your screen yet. Sorry about that. There we go. There we go. Perfect.
All right, great. So getting back to it, for those of you who have never heard of AdvisoryWorld, our real core competencies are going to be portfolio analytics and proposal generation. And as part of that proposal generation, we have things like lead generation, risk profiling and scoring, along with account opening, which I will be able to highlight later in the live demo. But just to give you a little background, we have been around since 1987. We currently now, through our new partnership, with LPL are servicing over 57,000 individual advisors or users of our application, which is really exciting. And, firms and advisors like yourselves are really utilizing us as an alternative to some of your other portfolio analytics or risk profiling companies out there, like your Morningstars or Riskalyzes, at a much lower cost and a lot more flexible and open architecture. Allowing firms like yourselves to simplify and streamline their proposal process. So as I go into my first slide here, as I mentioned, our core competencies, investment or portfolio analytics, giving you the ability to screen for different products, run investment fact sheets. We have the ability to really simplify reports for maybe the majority of your clients you don't want to overwhelm with a lot of data. We also have the ability to get very granular in our analysis for either your own research or for your more analytical clients. Portfolio modeling through our applications, giving you the tools to create models which you are then be using as part of your business, and then as part of the proposal generation. Really the mainstay or the main part of what we are doing these days. Our proposal generation application is essentially utilized as an engine where the user has the ability to white label the interface. So this is going to look like your firm's proposal solution. It's not going to look like an AdvisoryWorld tool or another firm's tool out there. It's going to look like your proposal solution, white labeling the interface as well as any of the reports generated. So implementing a repeatable proposal process. Okay, how are we doing that? Okay, so we've got 5 basic steps that I'm going to take you through today. The first couple that you see here is where we are really leaning on our amazing integrations with Redtail. So gathering information, having the ability to pull prospect or client information into our applications through our integration with Redtail or other integration partners of ours. Analyzing a risk profile and the prospect or client's existing allocation, because what we want to do is get that risk profile assessed and then see whether or not they're in line with their stated investment objectives, at which point we would compare it versus your model allocation, okay, showing them that what you are recommending is much better suited based on their risk profile. Documentation, where we are generating a white labeled investment proposal or investment policy statement, and then straight through processing, which is really going to be that account opening that you guys would have the ability to, if you are working with TD Ameritrade, we have the ability to open accounts directly through them, or if you're working with firms like Orion Advisor Services or others, we have the ability to open accounts directly with your custodian. So first step, how are we gathering the information? We've got an app that we call Acquire. Now, Acquire is essentially a lead generation app. So if you see here where it says open account, this is a button that you'd have the ability to put onto your website or social media account. Now, this is HTML, so that button can say anything you want. It doesn't have to say open account. It can say assess your risk profile or whatever you would like, okay? Once the investor clicks on that link, they are going through a brief authentication process, at which point AdvisoryWorld's basic questionnaire will come up. Now, if either you have your own questionnaire today or if you develop one in time, we can very easily have that uploaded into the application for you. Now, once the investor fills out that risk profile questionnaire, they are assigned with a risk score and, as you see here, a corresponding investment objective. In this instance, we scored out as a 64, which AdvisoryWorld is calling growth and income. That's growth and income to us. To your firm, it could be moderately aggressive or profile 4, whatever you like. Again, there's a lot of flexibility here. As you see on the lower left, we also have the ability to incorporate a shell allocation that would be associated with that risk score. And just above that, we have a range of returns, which again is associated with, every risk score has a range of returns associated with it. The investor would then put in their contact information, At which point we are pulling all of that information into our proposal solution and simultaneously sending it to Redtail. So now you've got a new lead in both your proposal solution and your CRM. Now you've got a new prospect, you've reached out to he or she, and you have got them in your office and you're taking a look at their current allocation. Well, you know, in this scenario, this slide that you see here, we're trying to get Jason Bourne here to a 15. Well, we look at the holdings within his current account and he scores out as a 72. So you have a tool now that is helping you easily convey to an investor that you're way out of line with your stated investment objective. I will go through in detail the risk scoring methodology once I go into the live demo, so just wait for that. How can we simplify this process? Because if it's a prospect, a lot of the time, majority of the time, you're not going to have their data within your CRM or with your portfolio management solution, right? So we can either lean on integrations that we have with firms like Wealth Access or Quovo to have the investors self-authenticate and pull that information into our system. If it's a client, we can pull that in from Redtail. We can pull it in from Orion Advisor Services, and there is a number of other firms that we work with. If you're not working with an aggregator, you would have the ability to simply type in the tickers, separating them by commas, or upload via Excel. Point being, the process of getting the data into our application is very straightforward. Now, we select the model. Okay, so we were trying to get you to a 15. Your current allocation scored out as a 72. So now what I'm recommending is much more in line with your stated investment objective, because all of your models are going to be pre-populated in our system. Okay, so you're clicking the mouse. You're not typing the keyboard when you're generating these proposals. And as you see here on this, it would be the first page of our proposal. Your investment objective range in this instance was 0 to 20 based on the questionnaire that you'd filled out. Your current allocation scores out as a 72, so you're way out of line with your stated investment objective. What I'm recommending is right in line with that. And then we've got our, basic reporting. The purpose of the tool is not to get too granular in your analysis, though you can, but rather helping you to implement a streamlined proposal process to get a risk profile assigned and get that proposal out the door. These are kind of the final steps here. So you have a better understanding. So you're generating the proposal. We have the ability to send that information to an Orion into their new account center or wizard. From them, they would send it over to like a laser app or quick forms, then onto DocuSign, then onto a custodian, whichever it may be. In this instance, I've got TD here. We also have direct account opening with TD Ameritrade, which you could bypass all of these steps and go straight from us to TD. So point being, you have got a tool, or you would have access to a tool that is really going to simplify and streamline your proposal process. If any of you have questions, I know Jonathan had mentioned, this is the contact information for us directly. We would be happy to get you set up on a free trial of the application, or just simply answer any questions you have or provide you with sample reports. Okay, I will be answering questions at the end of this, so let me jump right into the live demo so you can see this working in action. So you should all be able to see my screen here. It's our AdvisoryWorld login page. The tool is completely web-based. So anywhere you have access to the internet, you're going to have access to this tool, compatible with any device, any browser. If you are working with certain vendors, we actually have single sign-on from them into our tools directly. So now upon initial login, you're going to see that I can white label this whole interface. So this looks like a Redtail proposal solution. So, Redtail Investment Services, for example, here, we've got your logo. You can have your custom color schema, right? So where I want to start with this process is the lead gen component, because I think it's really cool. I'm going to click on my name here. And when I scroll down, you'll see this is where you can edit the branding and logo. Now, our Acquire app down here, this is that HTML snippet that I had mentioned that I could embed into your website or social media account. Now, this link that you see here resides within that HTML snippet. So now I'm going to cut and paste that. Now, this is a link that you can send to known investors, so maybe clients, maybe somebody that you met at church or at an airport or at a bar or wherever people meet each other. Let me go through a brief. There we go. I am not a robot, and now I can start with the questionnaire. Now, once I complete this questionnaire, as I showed you in the deck, I will be assigned a risk score and corresponding investment objective. So now I scored out as a 66, which we call growth, as I mentioned. You see the range of returns associated with that. The investor is then prompted to put in their contact information. All right. Now, when I click submit, I, as the advisor associated with this account, just got a notification in my inbox that Joe Redtail went to my website, clicked on the link, filled out the questionnaire, and scored out as a 66. Now, the next time I log into the tool, there he is. All of the information that was input on my website has been pulled into our system real time. And for you guys, the Redtail users, the cherry on top here is that that has simultaneously been sent to Redtail. So when I log into Redtail, you're going to see all of the contact information that I had put in. You're going to see the risk profile information. Now, if you had sent this out to your clients, so someone who is already in your CRM, we would just be updating an existing record rather than creating an additional record. So now you see Joe Redtail, risk profile of growth, which is a 66, all the contact info. So I think that that's a really cool integration there. All right, so now you reached out to Joe, and let's say he's in your office the next day, right? So now you're talking through the responses to the questionnaire because everything that he had put on your site has been populated in our system. Now, where we get to the end here, this is where we differ from some of your other risk profiling companies, like, say, a Riskalyze or someone like that, is our flexibility on this page. Because is Joe really a 66? And what I mean by that is these investors are filling out these risk profile questionnaires with a lot of bravado. You know, outside of recently, we haven't seen a down market in about 10 years. So, of course, Joe's going to want this 28 and almost a 0.5% to the upside. All right, but is he really willing to take that 14% to the downside? In a lot of cases, no. So I can use this slider, and on the fly, real time, I can show him what an 80 looks like and the volatility we'd be introducing. But in most cases, you're going back the other way. And we're going to show him what a 23 looks like, for example. All right. Now, Joe sees this and he says, you know, Ed, I know I filled out the risk profile questionnaire in this way, but actually after talking through it with you, my advisor, or in this case, my prospective advisor, this 23 sounds a lot more like me. So at that point, we've got the ability to click accept manual risk score, which is going to override the questionnaire. We're always going to keep the questionnaire results populated for compliance purposes, but now we are going to be using this 23 going forward. And now when I refresh my CRM, I've got an updated record in there keeping track of the risk profiling, and we are really documenting the proposal process through Redtail, which is awesome. So now I can add a comment, and I can say, you know, after talking, yada, yada, right? And I can add that as a comment. So when he comes into my office 6 months down the road, I've got this whole thing documented, and I know why I've got him invested in this way. All right. And this flexibility that you have here with being able to override the questionnaire is really keeping you, the advisor, as part of the proposal process, which is very important. So now by default, we're jumping straight to proposed accounts, but let's say that Joe's got his current statement with him, right? And let's say Joe's got an IRA at American Funds. Select the registration type, name it. And now I don't have wealth access or Quovo, unfortunately. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to manually input this. When we hear manual data entry, we cringe, but in our working with our tools, it's very straightforward. So all I got to do is type in the commas, separate them, type in the tickers, separate them by commas, and you see it does not matter the product types. I could search for mutual funds with ETFs, with equities, with bonds. So I could put in a 9-digit QSIP and enter a bond as well. Now, as I allocate this, you're going to see a risk score populate on the right. And I am going to explain the methodology there because it differs from some other companies you may have heard of. So what we are doing here is going to be different than what some other firms are doing from a risk scoring perspective. All right, what we're doing is we are looking at the actual products, the performance of the actual products within the analysis. So on the product level, the account level, or household level. We're using a 15-year time horizon. And we're looking at metrics like beta versus the S&P, max drawdown, Sortino ratio, and batting average, and weighting those metrics to come up with this holdings-based risk score. Okay? So now you have a tool, as I mentioned earlier, that is helping you easily convey to an investor that you are way out of line with your stated investment objective. At this point, all you have to do is go save and go to proposed accounts. All of your models are already loaded in here, so you click add proposed account, select the registration type, let the program know how you're funding it, because in this instance, he's just got a single IRA. He could have an additional IRA, a brokerage account, a 401k. He could be using cash. Now, all of your models are in here, so all you got to do is click load model. They're loading up. Here they are. So now I'm trying to get you to a 23. Conveniently, we've got a portfolio that scores out as a 23. You see we can name them, the investment objective, and the score. Here's that allocation. Now you'll see that I cannot edit this because it's a proposed account associated with the model at that firm level. It's being associated with the model at the firm level is giving us the ability to update any proposed account associated with that model anytime that model is updated. We can, at this point, if we would like to, we can generate investment fact sheets on the model level and the investment level. That's just coming up. We could go to save and go to documentation, which I'll go to shortly, where we can generate that white labeled investment proposal and or investment policy statement. So this is just an example of a fact sheet. This same fact sheet is the one Jonathan was talking about that can be generated directly through Redtail, which is awesome and convenient for you. You see it would all be branded. This is on the account level. So you've got trailing performance versus a weighted asset class benchmark. You've got your MPT statistics. Then we have the diversification metrics. All right, you got 12-month yield, average expense ratio. We have the ability to look under the hood of the products you have, so we can look within your mutual funds, ETFs, or SMAs to give an overall equity, fixed income, cash, convertible breakdown, sector, country, and holding breakdown, and then you get down into the actual individual products. So, you know, I'm hoping you're seeing here is that the functionality that we have is combining a lot of the tools that you may have heard of, or more importantly, be currently working with, where you can consolidate all that, save yourself a lot of headache because you don't have to be using a ton of different things, and save yourself a lot of money. Now I go to save and go to documentation, where I can generate that white labeled investment proposal at the household or account level. IPS, I can go back and view in Redtail, and then this is where we've got that account opening process. So in this instance, this is sending it to Orion Advisor Services. We can also send directly to custodians like TD Ameritrade. So you have a lot of options from the account opening perspective. And what you're going to see here is our basic investment proposal, prepared for, prepared by, again, branded for you. Are you in line with your stated investment objective? Your investment objective range based on that risk profile questionnaire is 21 to 40. Your current account is clearly out of line. What I'm recommending is right in line with that. It's simple, it's easy for you to explain, and it's easy for them to understand. Then as we continue down, we've got the adjustments needed to be made to get from current to proposed on the asset class level and the underlying security level. Risk versus return, showing here is where you are, here is what I'm recommending, here's the S&P and the Barclay Ag. Some basic MPT statistics here, that our clients have been very successful selling on, especially max drawdown. Trailing performance, and please know that if your firm had any sort of static pages that you would like to incorporate into this proposal, we can do that. Something like an About Us page. We can have those kind of PDFs uploaded into this for you. Annualized returns, and then you've got your forward-looking range of returns based on that historical performance, showing that your upside might not be as great as your current portfolio, but we're not taking anywhere near the downside. So that would be an example of a proposal, and then I'll show you our IPS. It's a basic 6-page investment policy statement. It's not going to be one of these 40-page IPSs. And you see the program is very fast. It's very intuitive. So investment policy statement, really the core of the application lies in this first page. Are you in line with your stated investment objective? All right. Your investment objective is income with moderate growth because you've got a risk score of 23 and the range for that objective is 21 to 40. Your current account is clearly out of line with that stated investment objective. What I'm recommending is right in line with that. Tools like this are really helping you to show that you are investing in the best interest of your client. Documentation to prove that you're investing in the best interest of your client. And then you get into acceptance and adoption. So that would be it for my live demo. We do have a lot of flexibility. We have the ability to change the UI for you all, to change the reports. There would be a little bit of development associated with that, but that is the type of thing that AdvisoryWorld excels in. So you have, going back to my deck here, you have our contact information. So if you have any questions or you'd like to go through the application together, please let me know.
Thanks so much for joining us today for this particular session. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to give us a call at 800-206-5030, option 3 for support, or just shoot us an email over to support@redtailtechnology.com. Thanks a lot and have a great day.